Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I remember a moment very clearly. It was late at night. A guest had just arrived at one of the hotels I was managing. It wasn't a big hotel, it was a family owned, independent property. The guest looked tired, a bit frustrated. There had been a long flight delay, a long journey, and honestly, nothing had gone just right. Now, in a large chain hotel, the process would have been perfect. Efficient check-in, polite smile, room key, done. But that night, something different happened. The person at the front desk, no script, no manual, just looked at the guest and said, "Long day?" And the guest nodded. So instead of just checking them in, they offered a cup of tea and a little snack. They slowed things down. They made it human. And I remember watching this and thinking, this is it. This is the difference. Because that moment, that simple, unscripted moment, is something you can't standardize. But it's the kind of thing people remember. And it is something I know very personally. My background comes from developing, operating, and managing independent, family-owned hotels. So I've learned it from the inside, not just as a guest, but as someone trying to create those unforgettable moments and experiences. Today, I want to talk about those two worlds, independent hotels and branded chain hotels. Because they don't just operate differently, they think differently, they feel differently, and they answer very different human needs. Let's start with chain hotels. Big brands, global names, they are built on one powerful idea: consistency. Have you ever walked into a hotel room and felt like you've been there before? Same bed, same layout, same feeling? That's not just by accident. That's a promise. You land in a city you don't know, you're tired, you're stressed. You check in, open the door, and everything feels familiar. That feeling matters. It tells your brain you're okay, you're in control. Chain hotels are masters of systems. Everything is designed. How you greet, how fast the check-in lasts, how the room looks, even how someone says good morning. Because when you operate at scale, you need structure, you need repetition, you need predictability. Now let's step into a very different world. The world I come from, independent hotels. These places don't start with systems. They start with a story, with a family, a vision, a belief in what hospitality should feel like. And when you're running one of those hotels, you think differently. You think about people first. You think about moments. You think about how a guest feels in the first 5 seconds he or she walks in. In the world of independent hotels, things are not always perfect. I can tell you that honestly. But they are often personal. The front desk might not follow a script, but they will surely remember your name tomorrow. The room might not look identical, but it might feel alive. And suddenly, the guest is not just staying somewhere. They're experiencing something. So here's the core difference. Chain hotels say, we promise you the same experience every time. While independent hotels say, we promise you something you'll remember. But that promise is not easy to deliver. Because when you don't have a big system behind you, you rely on people, on instinct, on care. Let's talk about service. In chain hotels, service is smooth, efficient, reliable, professional. It works like a machine. Everything just works. In independent hotels, service is more human. And I've seen this over and over again. You hire for personality. You trust people to make decisions. You allow them to go off script. And that's where magic can happen. Because the best moments in hospitality are not planned. They're human. Even though the main guidelines, the mindset, the concept, the philosophies, the service approach are all pre-established, of course. But there's a trade-off. Systems create consistency. And from my experience, that variability is real. Some days are incredible, others are very challenging. Now let's talk about quality. Chain hotels reduce risks. They control everything, measure everything. They make sure you don't have a bad experience. Independent hotels take a different risk. They aim higher. They try to create something meaningful. And when it works, it's unforgettable. The kind of experience people talk about for years. But yes, sometimes it doesn't. So the range is wider. higher highs and lower lows. And this brings us to something deeper, psychology. Why do we choose one over the other? Well, sometimes we want control, we want ease, we don't want to think, and that's when we choose a chain hotel. Other times we want connection, we want authenticity, we want to feel something. That's when we choose independent hotels. One gives you peace of mind and the other gives you meaning. And today, something very interesting is happening. These two worlds are starting to merge. Big brands are trying to feel more human, more local, more personal, and independent hotels, like the ones I've worked with, are becoming more structured, using better systems, because consistency matters too. So the line is getting blurry, but the philosophies are still different. Chain hotels are built on control. Independent hotels are built on expression. Chain hotels say, trust us, we've figured it out. Independent hotels say, trust us, we care enough to make it different. And maybe the real question is not which one is better, but rather what do you feel right now? Do you need rest or inspiration? Do you need predictability or surprise? Because hospitality is not just about where you stay. It's about how you feel. And from my own experience, building, operating, and living inside the independent hotels, I've learned this. People may forget the room, they may forget the design, but they will surely never forget how you made them feel. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.